What's up, everyone? Matt Gajewski here, back again talking college football. And today we are talking Missouri ahead of the 2025 season. Before we get started, make sure to hit that thumbs up button, subscribe to the channel, especially if you like the content. Analytics show a lot of you are not yet subscribed. It makes a huge difference for a small channel like this. If you've done that, thank you. And last thing, we're recording this very early May. Transfer portal just closed. Teams are still going to make additions. Rosters will change. Players will get hurt. A lot is still going on. If there's something you disagree with in the video, leave it below. Tell me why. Criticism does not mean I don't like Missouri. I don't think they're going to have a good season. This is meant to be an objective video. And if you disagree, would love to get better and hear why. So thank you if you've provided that. But let's dive into what happened last year with Missouri before we get into the roster. So here is where the efficiency metrics came in. It was a very good season for them overall. Under Drinkwitz, it was not the most difficult schedule, and they did falter a couple times, which gets them to a 10-3 record. Not really a strong playoff contender. It was more the Alabamas, the South Carolinas that were mentioned over Missouri's. And part of that is some head-to-head losses. They lost to Texas A&M. They lost to Alabama. And the Alabama loss was a little alarming. That was a 34-0 loss. They also lost to South Carolina. So, the fellow 10-3 teams ended up with head-to-heads. They also lost 41-10 against A&M. I didn't mention the score of that game. Their best wins, probably a 4-point win over Auburn, a 7-point win over Oklahoma. And then, of course, they won their bowl game, but that's their bowl game. It was a weaker SEC schedule overall, but still, it's hard to take a lot away from the program and Drinkwitz. He's now back for his 6th season. Overall record is 38-24 since he took over. He was at App State before, so a lot of head coaching experience. But it's not just last year. This is the 2nd consecutive year with double-digit wins for Drinkwitz in Missouri. Has the program trending upward. And they're going to be tested this year. They're losing a lot of players, so we'll see how this goes. But overall, it's hard to really have qualms with him. OC Kirby Moore is back. He took over in 2023. He was previously at Fresno State, but the offense has certainly taken a step forward under him. Development has been awesome under him, too. This is a rare program that takes a lot of lower-level transfers in the SEC and actually does something with him, especially in the run game. Defensive coordinator Corey Batoon is back for his 2nd season. Last year, they took a slight step back, but we're still talking about a top 40 defense overall. A lot of experience with him. He was South Alabama's DC. So things are looking pretty good for Missouri. Their weakest unit was actually their pass game last year under Brady Cook, and he also had an ankle sprain, couldn't really move around through much of the year. On defense, their weakness was coverage, but this unit still was pretty good overall. They were good on special teams. Solid overall offensive metrics. There's not really that much else to be said. What does it look like moving forward for them? Here's where we stand recruiting-wise. This is a middling team. In the country, they're better than middling. In the SEC, they're certainly below average. They finish outside the top 10 in recruiting each of the last 3 years in conference. They bring in back-to-back 20th ranked classes, which is certainly better than their 30th ranked 2023 class. The graph you're seeing on the bottom is their retention. So last year's class was a little interesting for Missouri and how they couldn't keep some players, including their crown jewel 5-star freshman. But maybe that's a good thing. You don't want players that are cancerous to your program on the roster. But overall talent development has been awesome, considering this is the level of recruiting we're working with, not top 5 classes like Georgia and Alabama. But let's dive into the 2-deep roster. So we have a little tool we created. It will be available later this week. This is an overall 2-deep depth chart for Missouri. We have all the SEC done, plenty of other teams as well. In yellow, we have the transfers. Players that are injured will be in red. First off, this is the 2-deep, so players that are projected to either start or contribute. Then we have their projected snaps. Excuse me, not projected snaps. Snaps from the last 2 years. Recruiting ranking in terms of stars, and then an overall player score that starts with your recruiting ranking, and then the more football you play, the less the recruiting ranking matters, and the more it factors in play on the field. So with Missouri, they lose Brady Cook, longtime starter for them, and they go to the transfer portal, bringing in Bo Pribula from Penn State, who was the backup to Drew Aller, but he also played situationally. Pribula, 66% completion, 7.5 yards per attempt, 9 touchdowns, 1 interception, 4 Big Ten throws, no turnover-worthy plays when he has been on the field. Dynamic as a rusher. This is primarily where we've seen him playing a cameo for Penn State. 6.1 yards per carry for him. I would tentatively place him as the favorite in this QB battle, but they also have Sam Hornback. He's a former four-star who also plays baseball for Missouri. Last year, he missed the entire season after he had Tommy John surgery, but he's a 3-year player, at least. That's what the letters on the whatever roster will tell you, is a redshirt junior or whatever he is now. But he hasn't played at all in terms of football. They also have a 4-star freshman in Matt Zollers. Don't think he factors into this battle. But overall, it's a little unsettled. I think we see Pribula take the first snap under center. But overall, we don't have a great idea what we're getting at QB. I think it'll be fine, but we will see. Running back, they lose Nate Noel and Marcus Carroll, as well as 2024 4-star Q1 Lacey, who transferred out. They've done an awesome job bringing up low-level transfers, so I don't have a ton of concerns, even with 3 key departures. They do return 4th leading rusher Jamal Roberts. He carried 53 times last year, 4.1 yards per carry, but he's a smaller back at 197 pounds. Louisiana Monroe transfer Ahmad Hardy comes in. He was a 0-star recruit, 5'10", 205, but proved awesome last year in the Sun Belt. Over 1,300 rushing yards at 5.7 yards per carry, 8 catches. He's got decent size, and again, the track record's good with these players. If it's not either Roberts or Hardy, they do have a couple other players. Former 4-star Tavoris Jones is on the roster. He's not really been able to carve out a role. He's also sub 200 pounds. And then they have incoming 4-star freshmen Marquise Davis and Brendan Haygood. One of them may have to play just because it's not the deepest unit. But expecting RB to be fine, maybe the slightest of steps back, but still a good unit. Wide receivers losing a ton. 4 of their top 5, highlighted by Luther Burden, who went to the Bears in the 2nd round. Theo Weiss Jr. is gone. Mookie Cooper's gone. Their top returning receiver is Marquise Johnson, who caught 25 passes for 352 yards last year. Played on the boundary, 5'11", 180 pounds, but 2.61 yards per route is very good. We need to extrapolate that moving forward, but there should be some hype on Marquise Johnson. They also returned their 6th leading receiver, former 4-star Josh Manning, 13 catches, 192 yards last year. Another boundary receiver, a little bit worse with his yards per route, only 1.02, but he's 6'2", 199 pounds. There should be some hype for him too. And then they bring in Mississippi State transfer, Kevin Coleman Jr., the well-traveled Kevin Coleman Jr., started with Jackson State, goes to Louisville, plays with Mississippi State last year, and was kind of the lone bright spot on that offense. 74 catches, 932 yards, and 6 scores. 2.32 yards per route. Had to play with a backup QB when Chapin went down. 5'11", 180 pounds, and he should be the slot receiver. 88% of his snaps came in the slot last year. Outside of these 3, we're talking very little experience. Daniel Blood had 8 catches last year. 2nd-year 4-star James Madison II played 24 snaps. They do have a couple of incoming 4-stars, Donovan Olugbode and Sean Terry II. We know Missouri will play young players. They also added Xavier Lloyd from Illinois State. He logged about 70th percentile production in the FCS, 66 catches, 912 yards, 6'2", 195. Lloyd originally played with Kansas State, but he was a walk-on there and then had to transfer down to eventually play in the FCS. Now he's back up. I'm not leaving the candle on for him. If he plays, I would be surprised. The real ceiling for this team comes from what they're getting out of 4-stars that were recruited this year or previous years, as well as transfer Kevin Coleman, but expecting a slight step back with just so much proven talent leaving the room. Tight end, they return Brett Norfleet and Jordan Harris, a pair of former 4-stars. Norfleet, more of the pass catcher, played through injury last year. He's 6'7", 235, but caught 26 passes. Harris is more of your blocker, only caught 5 passes for him, but they provide a nice 1-2 punch. They also added 4-star redshirt freshman Gavin Hoffman, comes in from Iowa, where they refused to play him. Very deep tight end room there, so I get it. He should be some sort of factor in this group. They also had Colorado State transfer Vince Brown, who's more of a receiver. He comes in with such low grades because he was so bad as a blocker. Like, his blocking was so bad. He should essentially move to wide receiver. And that's likely what he'll play. They might slap the tight end designation in front of his name, but he is a wide receiver for this team. Offensive line, they lose 3 starters, highlighted by Armand Membu, top 10 pick in the NFL draft. But the offensive line is still in a pretty good spot. They bring in a transfer from West Virginia in Johnny Williams to compete with last year's JUCO transfer Javen Richardson. Neither has played a ton. Johnny Williams did play 241 snaps in relief last year. He started their bowl game. He started in week 9. He played well in both spots. So Williams, I would put tentatively ahead of the JUCO transfer, Javen Richardson, but the left tackle spot's a little up for grabs. Left guard, Caden Lee, he's back. He played 811 snaps last year, previously started with Oklahoma in 2023, took a big step forward, elite across the board, strong pass blocker, just 11 pressures allowed. Guard is fine. Center, Connor Tolson's back, only played in 9 games last year, but 582 snaps. He started 4 seasons now. 2 of them have been elite, allowed 14 QB pressures last year, 15 in 2023. Center should be just fine. At right guard, I think we're going to see Jalen Early, the Florida State transfer. He came over in the spring window, so we don't have anything from spring practice to fall back on. He played 309 snaps, split time between right tackle and right guard, but he's a former 4-star who's been great at run blocking when he's on the field. I think he's probably your first candidate to look at, but we'll see how the summer shakes out. And then at right tackle, I think we're pretty firmly looking at Keegan Trost. He's been all over the place, started his career with Morgan State, transferred to Indiana State where he started for 2 years, transferred to Wake Forest where he started last year, and he was solid at right tackle, allowed 19 QB pressures. Nothing crazy, but he should fill in there. There's also some pretty good depth for Missouri. 4-star Logan Reichardt's back. He played 56 snaps last year. Michigan transfer Dominic Goudis is still there. He played 317 snaps last year. Incoming 4-stars Henry Finucane and Jack Lang are here. Jack Powers transfers in from Cornell. Most of these players' profile is depth, but there's actually 4 or 5 players that you could actually maybe pencil in as a pinch for this team. Moving to defense, on the edge, they lose Johnny Walker. He was the top defender in 24, so that's a big loss for them. Zion Young is the most experienced edge defender now. He has 2 years of starting experience, first one coming with Michigan State in 23. But 26 pressures elite, run defense numbers. It's a pretty good place to start. Then they add Damon Wilson, the second from Georgia. He's a former 5-star, but he's kind of struggled to get on the field. Last year, he did play 417 snaps, above average, 26 pressures. So that is a good place to start, both of them. Then they add App State transfer Nate Johnson. Only played 325 snaps last year after playing 567 the year before. Then he had 37 pressures in 23, so expecting him to be a rotational piece. And outside of that, 4-star Darius Smith comes in. They also have incoming 4-stars Javion Hilson and Dayton Hopkins, so it should be a pretty deep unit on the edge. Defensive tackle, they lose Christian Williams, but they return Chris McClellan, 459 good snaps. He's a Florida transfer at 320 pounds, and somehow he had 18 pressures. Good numbers for him. New Mexico State transfer Sterling Webb is also back. 283 snaps with Missouri last year, 10 pressures, so pretty decent. Former 4-star Marquise Gracio played 119 snaps. 3-star Jalen Marshall played 117. Gracio was much better. Behind them, Langdon Kitchen comes in from Northwest Missouri State. He's a hometown kid, so I don't really think he's going to play much, but you never know. And then incoming 4-star Elias Williams is with the team currently. So the D-line should be a pretty good unit for this team. One of the strengths of the defense. At linebacker, they lost their best starter, Corey Flagg, so they get back Tristan Newson, who played largely average last year. Second on the team with 71 tackles, but he was a real problem in coverage where he allowed 26 of his 30 targets to be completed. They did go out and add Josiah Trotter from West Virginia and Mekhi Bayer from Nebraska. Trotter played 628 snaps. He was second on West Virginia with 92 tackles. Very good numbers, but another player, a liability in coverage. He allowed 25 of 27 targets to be completed. And from there, Bayer played 375 snaps, so more of a rotational guy, but he was good as well. So as long as we can get some coverage stuff cleaned up, linebackers should be strong up top. In the depths, former South Alabama transfer Khalil Jacobs is back after he played 139 snaps. Pair of incoming 4-stars, Brian Huff and Dante McClellan. Should be a pretty strong front 7 group, including linebacker. Defensive back, they do return 4 of their top 5 players in the secondary. Toriano Pride, former Clemson transfer, should play one of the boundary spots, played 567 snaps last year. 56% completion. I mean, he's a solid corner. Drayden Norwood is the other potential starting corner. He was slightly below average last year, but he's a former 4-star. Just his completion percentage lagged a little bit, 63%. 15 yards per reception, too, so Norwood needs to take a step forward. Nickel should be Dalen Carnell, 2 years of starting experience. He could maybe play safety. He plays like the bigger slot variety of the slot. 18 QB pressure, so they can use him as a Swiss Army knife and play him off the edge and rush him. But your corner spots are pretty good. Just hope Norwood takes a step. Depth at corner should be fine as well. They brought in Stephen Hall from Washington State and Santana Banner from Northern Illinois. They also have four-star freshman CJ Bass. So there's a lot of players that could potentially get on the field in an injury. Safety, they return Marvin Burks. He played 552 snaps, four-star. He was the worst defender on the team, 64% completion allowed, 14 yards per reception, 15 missed tackles, which was 20% of his attempts. Maybe they just move to transfers, and they get a couple good ones here. Jalen Catalan, formerly of Arkansas, formerly of Texas, formerly of UNLV. He's played a lot of football, and he's been hurt a lot. He originally was an All-American with Arkansas in 2019. Been hurt a ton, but every time he's touched the field, he's been an elite player. So as long as you get help with Catalan, I think you know what you're getting. Mose Phillips comes in for Virginia Tech, played 703 snaps last year. Very good as a run defender, struggled a little bit in coverage, but those two players could both play safety, and then maybe you could move Marvin Burks or just play him in a rotational role or whatever. They also have sophomore four-star Trajan Greco. Safety could be a weaker point, but I think overall the transfers you bring in are solid enough where this should be a good unit. And I'm expecting Missouri's defense to be the strength of their team again this year. Offense, a lot is going to ride on what comes from Pribula and their receivers being so inexperienced. The O-line, I think, takes a slight step back, but that's just it, just very slight. There's a lot coming back there as well. Kicker, they returned Blake Craig. He was the 55th most experienced kicker. Just a really weird body of work. He went 1 of 7 on field goals from 40 to 49, but then he went 6 of 9 on 50+. So I don't know what to make of this. It's a little above average kicker play for Missouri overall. But let's look to the schedule. Last year's unit was historically easy, or I guess a little easy comparatively. So now we move to this year. And, whoops, there we go. Let's add this in. Their non-conference should be potentially a 4-0 start. They have Central Arkansas, Kansas, Louisiana, and UMass. The other thing about the schedule, they do not hit the road until October 18th. We're talking the back half of the season before this team is a road game. They play their opener on Thursday against Central Arkansas. That shouldn't matter at all. But, I mean, we have to go to Week 8, Auburn, before this team hits the road. Now, within the schedule, there are some tricky parts. Again, the 4-0 non-conference, but they do dodge Texas and Georgia. Alabama and Texas A&M, the next two most difficult teams, are both at home, and they do draw a lot of the bottom feeders. We have Arkansas, Mississippi State, and Vanderbilt on the schedule. So overall, this sets up for the second consecutive season as a reasonable schedule for Missouri. Again, probably a 4-0 start in non-con, depending on how they handle Kansas and Louisiana. And then as long as they can handle Arkansas, Vanderbilt, we're looking at a pretty good start. And Mississippi State. Two of those are on the road. And I do think Arkansas is better than people think. But Mississippi State and Vanderbilt should be wins for this team. I mean, we're looking at a bowl here for Missouri at the very worst. And they do play some difficult games up top, even in the middle of the conference. South Carolina, at Oklahoma, at Auburn. Those are not easy games by any means. But we should win 7 games. 8 would be the max, I think, with this roster. But I think we're firmly looking at a bowl team. And if they do not reach bowl eligibility, I think you have to consider it a letdown and underachievement for this Missouri team. But that's where we stand for now. Good Missouri team. Can't wait to watch them play. Let me know what you guys think in the comments, and we'll be back soon talking more college football. Until then, good luck. We'll see you later.